Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Crystals with Kate. This week we will be talking about Labradorite. Labradorite is one of my favorites. It's also a very, very popular crystal in the community right now. So I wanted to go ahead and research, dive into it, and give you guys some really exciting information. The first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is obviously the geology. Let's learn a little bit about our buddy Labradorite. So on Mohs scale of hardness, it falls between a 6 and a 6.5. And if you guys remember, quartz is about a 7. So it's a little bit softer than Labradorite, but not a whole lot. If you are a geology nerd, it is made up of plagioclase feldspar. Plagioclase feldspar is a really, really fancy way of telling you what minerals are in there. Feldspars are going to be high in your iron content. They are known for reflecting light that gives it that pretty luminescence, and it can be that blue-green color. Sometimes it's more of a red, orange, or yellow, which we will call sunset labradorite in the community, and that is known as labradorescence, or being labradorescent, which is where labradorite comes from. It is found in all three types of rocks: sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. Usually it is found as a primary mineral in your mafic, basalts, and gabbro, which are igneous rocks, which are your volcanic type of rocks. So that was just a little bit of geology jargon for you on labradorite. Next up, we are going to discuss some of its history. The history of Labradorite comes from the Inuit Indian tribe. So it is said that an Inuit warrior set out to find the northern lights and where they had disappeared to, because for some reason they were not there and he wanted to find them and restore them. So as he walked, he found rocks on the shore of Labrador, which is in northern Canada. And in the rocks, he saw the beautiful dancing and the coloring of the northern lights, and he broke them up with his spear, and that was his way of releasing the northern lights back up. Lo and behold, they returned. It is said that the bright, beautiful colors that are in Labradorite is a little bit of the magic from the northern lights that is still left in the rock. Labradorite in general, because of this, has a very high importance to the Inuit tribe due to their belief the northern lights were dancing lights of their ancestors. So for anyone that does ancestor work, you might have specific things that you attribute to your ancestors, specific items you may put on an altar if you are into witchcraft. For the Inuit tribe, they looked up at the northern lights, and that was their ancestors watching over them and dancing with joy. The reason it became known as Labradorite because of this is, one, because it was found in Labrador, and it's also known as fire rock to the Inuit tribe. And the way that they say that is similar to the word labradorite. The Inuits also used it as a remedy for sickness and ailments, and a protective amulet while on the hunt in the Arctic. And from the research I have found, these properties were attributed to it because that is what they saw their ancestors as doing. They saw their ancestors as their protectors and their healers. So because the northern lights are associated with the ancestors in the Inuit tribe, those are the same types of characteristics that were carried over. So that is a little bit on the history and the geology, and now we are going to take a quick break and have our ad. Before we keep going, I'm going to go ahead and do a shameless self-plug. So, as I mentioned, our Instagram and TikTok handle is kates.crystalsshop on, and again, Instagram and TikTok. We also do have a Facebook page. We do a lot of live sales. On my TikTok bio, I also have a link tree that links you to my Patreon. So my Patreon is something I'm really, really excited about. I do have 4 tiers. The 2 upper tiers come with monthly crystal mystery boxes of varying sizes. My lower 2 layers, as well as all of the upper layers, come with information on the crystals and my show notes, and that is a great way to help support this podcast. Again, I am a small business owner, so this is the way I do make a lot of my money, and I really do want to be able to continue to share my love of crystals with you guys. There is also a link on there for donations and tips in my link tree. Again, nothing is expected, but all things are appreciated. Alrighty, now back to talking about Labradorite, because that is why everybody is here. So, next thing I want to chat about is location. The most prized mines and places that Labradorite can come from is Canada and Finland. Obviously, Canada makes sense because Labrador was in northern Canada. That is where your Inuit tribe, part of where your Inuit tribe was found, and still is today. Finland, they have some smaller pockets of it, and they are a different hue. You also have some pockets that have been found in Australia, Norway, Russia, Mexico, Costa Rica, Germany, and Madagascar. So that's a little on your location. Next up, the part that you guys are all here for, uses, and that can be in general and the metaphysical. So let's dive in. First up, it is used in jewelry, obviously. I'm sure you guys have seen all of the beautiful jewelry of Labradorite that has been floating around. It can also be ground up and used in glass. It has been used in road construction in some areas because it is a tough rock. And it can also be used when manufacturing ceramics, which I thought was really cool. All right, so if you are working with Labradorite and you want to use its physical properties, it's known to amplify healing thoughts and prayers. So if you are sick or somebody you know is sick and you want to work with Labradorite, you can use it to really try to send those healing thoughts and prayers their way. It's also really good for eyes, nerves, brain, your bones, your spinal cord, anything that is in that spinal column and related to it. It really, really helps with that. If you have chronic migraines or you have maybe some nerve issues and you wanted to work with crystals, I would definitely recommend Labradorite for that correspondence there. Again, it's known to rebalance the mind in general. Some sources do say that it can help rebalance it chemically, which makes me think depression. If you would like to work with Labradorite in those means, I see no issues. Obviously, it's heavily related to your mental health and your mind and your brain, your spinal column. So I don't see any, harm in that. Might be something I try to help with mine. The next thing is that it relieves stress. Boom, still on your mental health, and how that manifests and affects your physical health. Super stress. Try working with Labradorite. See what it does. It could help. I definitely usually use amethyst for stress, but because I found this in my research, I'm definitely gonna get some Labradorite that's a little bit more portable because my piece that I have is a little bit bigger. And, try to carry mine with me, see what it can do for my stress, see maybe if that and how amethyst and Labradorite work together, always trying new things around here. It's also said to help regulate your metabolism. With regulating your metabolism, it's also said to balance your hormones in general, which would help to lower blood pressure. And we also say that it can treat gout, cold, rheumatism, and relieve your menstrual tension. So those are all of the physical properties that I have seen and physical associations I have found for Labradorite. Let's talk about the metaphysical. So your metaphysical here is going to lean really, really heavily on the idea of the physical aspects that Labradorite helps with. So think mental health, your spine, your nerves, your bones, everything we just talked about there, it's going to carry over into your metaphysical. The most repeated thing I saw in terms of Labradorite and what it is good to use if you're trying to work in certain areas of your life is your psychic abilities and your psychic protection. It's protective and it helps you to develop your psychic abilities. The next highest one I found was calming your overactive mind. So to me, that feels more like, stress relief. It's going to calm those thoughts, any intrusive thoughts you have, any self depreciation you may have, anything that is flying through your mind, it can help calm that down. I also saw that it is really good for meditation and your spiritual awareness, which makes sense if it also helps with your psychic abilities. It is also said to help stimulate that intuition and really develop it. Learn to differentiate between intuition and anxiety. Is it really my gut feeling or is it anxiety? That question is the vein of my existence, and we are still working on that. So maybe it is really time to start working with Labradorite. It's also said to be protective. It helps to get you through changes. I keep seeing changes and cycles coming up and how it helps work through those with you. I think that goes back to taking the stress away, calming the mind, taking those negative thoughts out. Because with change, a lot of the issue that people tend to have with change, I don't like change myself, it's because you don't know what to expect, which leads to that anxiety and stress. So if you're calming your mind, it's going to help make those changes in your patterns easier as well. I've also seen its protection abilities, and then it banishes fears. Both of those are absolutely amazing. And remember, if you do any type of witchcraft work, protection is very important. So your Labradorite might be something you want to look into. And the next thing I saw was improving your relationship with yourself. And I think this is really just the hallmark here. If you are relieving your stress, if you are aiding your mind in getting rid of those bad thoughts, if you are bringing down your anxiety, if you're amplifying healing, if you are rebalancing your mind, you are truly going to feel so much better with yourself, and you're going to actually be able to see yourself for the amazing person you are versus the person that sometimes we feel like we are in our own heads. And I think it's really beautiful that, the culmination of working with Labradorite can be something so beautiful that it is improving your relationship with yourself. Um, wow, I'm really making myself want to go, work with Labradorite more. All right, so before we wrap up, talk about our chakras and our zodiac some as well. So the chakra that it is associated with is going to be your solar plexus and your third eye. Third eye leads into all of your psychic abilities and protections. It was talking about spiritual awareness. Your solar plexus, for me, feels more like, your protection and the banishing and working on your hormones and your rheumatism, your bones, like the bones of who you are as a person. The zodiacs that are associated are Leo, Sagittarius, and Scorpio. And remember, it does not just have to be your sun sign. Maybe you are a Leo rising or your moon is in Leo. That means it can be associated in any of those big three, and it will have that higher impact for you. So that is the uses of Labradorite that I have for you. And just a reminder, I'm going to wrap up with some fun ways to cleanse your crystals. So again, favorite way and easiest way, in my opinion, to do it is cleanse it with your incense. I love incense. I have way too many different types. I know, it's bad. But light your incense, cleanse it with your intentions. There you go. You can also charge it on your selenite plate. In the full moon, you can set them out in the full moon. You can collect moon water, cleanse them in the moon water. I just don't let mine soak. General rule of thumb is if it ends in "ite," you don't want to let it soak. Its hardness is a 6, 6.5, so it would probably be fine. I just don't want to take the gamble on my pretty pieces. You can charge it in the sun for a little while, but I don't like to leave any of my crystals in direct sunlight for extended periods of time, so I'll put them out of my window for a couple hours when I get home and then, put them back where they go. And then the last one I have is, again, placing it in your dirt. So earth is where all of these things come from. The easiest and simplest way to ground them, put them back in the earth. Put them in a pot with your plant, cover them with some dirt, let them sit for a day or two, let them regain their vibration, take them back out, dust them off, get the dirt off, ready to go, reset those intentions. So that was this week's episode on Labradorite. Thank you guys again for joining us this week on Crystals with Kate. As a reminder, we do post new episodes every other Wednesday, so join us in September for our next episode, and our episode will be on red jasper.